Alright, time to start. So, this series is going to be about learning how to improve yourself. I am not going to be teaching you some great knowledge that I've learned through playing the game. Because if you would look here, I'm just a bronze 3 player, or 2 player, bronze 2, 0 LP, with a little over 50% win rate. I am no special god, I am no Night Blue, no Trick 2G, none of that special jazz. What's really going on here is that I read a book, and I'd like to share some knowledge. Specifically, that book would be The Art of Learning, written by Josh Waitzkin, who some of you may know as the chess and Tai Chi push hands professional, who was the best in the world at both of those at some point. He shares a lot of good information in there about how he improved to become the best at both of those things. Both things that are incredibly intellectual and then incredibly physical. Two completely different kinds of activities. Now, I believe that a lot of this can apply to League of Legends because it's all really mental state. What he really starts off with, and what really the basis of all of my things are going to be about, is that you need to create a foundation of learning and passion about anything that you do before you get into any sort of competitive play or activities regarding that. So, regarding League of Legends, many people on Reddit and other things have gone and said, oh, well, you need to practice one specific champion and master all of their stuff so that you know how to mechanically play them correctly. But I believe that really what that it does is that you learn, you aren't trying to be competitive and counterpick things, you are just really learning. You're spending all of your time just learning. And something that I recently ran across was that the post on Reddit, someone said that really the only reason that people are better than you is that you've been playing longer, and that people who've been playing for a smaller amount of time are only better than people who've been playing a longer amount of time because they've used that time difference in a much better way. And I want to make this so that that time that you have is spent the best. Now, his first chapter he calls the Foundations, and it's all about when he was a kid playing chess, and it was all of his first couple of tournaments and how he learned how to play chess. So, the biggest thing there is that instead of going to chess tournaments or specifically memorizing a bunch of things, he had basically a conversation over the chessboard with his teacher. And whenever he would make a move, his teacher would stop and say, "Why did you do that?" He would then explain why he did that. And when he would explain it, the teacher would then try and get him to say why that would have influenced other things and why something else might have been good. And they just create a dialogue over the board. And they would do this for the entire game. They weren't memorizing things or just doing things over and over again so that they know it. It was Josh Waitzkin figuring out how chess works. And what I want to talk about is how to do that with League. Now, there are many things that people can do, which includes going into bot games and just practicing things, but many people don't want to do that. It's a waste of time. You don't want to be spending the time that you have to play a game, doing something stupid like playing a bot game. But what you got to do is while you're playing, let's say that when you're playing, you're an ADC, and you're playing down bottom with your support. you're a Twitch versus a Caitlyn, let's say, and they have an Annie as a support and you have a Leona. So they've got two of the longest range people in the game. You take a lot of free damage because you haven't really played against Caitlyn very much, and you don't realize where her auto attack range is. So you take a lot of free damage, and Annie gets a lot of free spells off of you. So you have to sit and really think about it and say, well, what can I do against a Caitlyn to make sure that I don't stay in her auto attack range as much? Well, of course you're a Twitch, so you can, use your invisibility, use your poison cask for a slow. Many other things you can do. So it's really objectively looking at things and making sure that you don't get angry when something goes wrong. You really just sit down and look and really reflect at what's going on. Now, this first video is really just an overview of what I'm going to be discussing in many of my later videos. A lot of the other stuff I'm going to get into much more detail with and use actual game footage to show you examples. But what the real big focus is that objectively thinking about everything that goes on is what you have to do. Many people who go to school now, in high school, you sit in a classroom and you're given a set of tasks that you have to do. And if you don't do this list of tasks in this amount of time, you fail. And that's an absolutely horrible way to teach people things. And that's why I absolutely hate school. That's why many kids hate school. But most people take that approach to learning things, especially like League, because that is how they've been taught to learn. And what I want to do is take this learning method and apply it to League and teach you guys how to think about things better. I'm not that great of a player. I'm a bronze 2-0 LP. So all I'm doing is sitting here telling you what I've learned. And you, along with me, can improve from this. And then during the day, from about noon till 6, I'm going to be streaming. And then from 6 till maybe 6:10, 6:20, depending on how long the show is, I'll do the show. And then after that, I'll continue streaming